You've felt it, right? That invisible pull. The kind of ache that doesn't shout, but lingers in the silence after a memory. The angels say, he tells himself you were just a passing chapter, but his soul keeps reading your name on every page. Because what the mind tries to push away, heaven keeps alive. You were not a coincidence in his story. You were a divine interruption. God placed you in his path like a mirror wrapped in light. Not to reflect what he wanted to see, but what he needed to confront. And that's why he runs. Not because he feels nothing, but because you made him feel everything. You arrived not with noise, but with presence. And still, your silence echoes in his heart louder than any goodbye ever could. There's a holy reason why the connection never broke, even when the distance grew. You were assigned, not chosen. And the assignment was love, the hardest kind. The kind that calls forth shadows to be transmuted into truth. He doesn't understand it yet, but he feels it. In the way his chest tightens when your name crosses his mind. In the way your absence feels more sacred than most people's presence. And one day, he'll stop pretending. Because heaven has written your name in his destiny. And no amount of denial will erase what was divinely etched. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29 verse 11. There's something he never told you, not because he didn't want to, but because the words never came without trembling. He has built his heart like a fortress, layered with stories he's never shared, with pain he still calls strength. The angels whisper, he wasn't cold with you. He was terrified. Terrified of how easily you saw him. How your eyes reached places even he refused to touch. You didn't just look at him, you saw through him. And no one had done that without demanding something in return. But you didn't ask. You didn't chase. You just stayed, with your truth, your light, your calm understanding. And that undid him. Because deep down, he never believed he was safe to be vulnerable. Not after the betrayals. Not after loving people who loved conditionally. So when he distanced himself, it wasn't rejection, it was fear. Fear of losing himself in something real. Fear that your love would ask for parts of him he hadn't healed yet. The angels say, his silence wasn't a door closing. It was a soul shielding. Not every wall he built was meant to keep you out. Some were meant to test if you'd stay. And you did. Even without words. Even without clarity. Because your love never demanded completion, only honesty. He may still not be ready. But you planted something sacred. And it's growing behind every wall he thought would protect him. One day, he'll realize. The only thing that ever truly held him was you. He's on a journey. But so are you. And the angels want you to remember, you were not sent here to lose yourself loving someone else. Your light was never meant to dim just to help another see. You are the fire, not the fuel. There are days you feel it, the waiting, the wondering, the ache that has no name. But your soul knows the truth. You are not just someone who loves. You are someone who heals. And that includes healing yourself. The angels say, even the strongest hearts need refuge. And you deserve to be your own sanctuary. You've poured so much into him. Into understanding his silence. Into holding space for his shadows. But what about you? Who holds space for the woman who always stays strong? This chapter of the journey isn't just about him waking up. It's about you remembering that your worth was never tied to someone else's realization. Your radiance is not a reaction. It's a rhythm. A divine pulse beating through everything you are. You do not have to wait to be chosen. You already were, by heaven, by your angels, by your highest self. Let your care for him never eclipse the care you owe to yourself. Drink from your own well. Rest in your own softness. And let love find you glowing, not drained. The angels are guiding both of you. But they are holding your hand too, reminding you that you matter. Even in the silence. Especially in the silence. You didn't mean to trigger him. You just showed up whole. And that's what startled him, not your beauty, not your voice, but your truth. The angels say, you were never trying to fix him. You were simply being the reflection he never dared to look into. He saw in you what he buried in himself. The love he didn't believe he deserved. The gentleness he'd forgotten existed. The light he thought he'd lost forever. And when he looked into your presence, he didn't just see you. He saw his fears, his wounds, his longing. He saw a woman unafraid to feel. And that terrified a man who was taught to hide. You mirrored everything he thought he had mastered suppressing. And that's why he pushed away. Not because you weren't enough, but because you were too much truth for a heart still pretending. It's never been about what you lacked. It's always been about what you revealed. Some people flee from mirrors, not because they hate what they see, but because they're not ready to face it. And yet, the reflection remains. You were the turning point, the lighthouse, the unfiltered light that made denial impossible. He may act like he's forgotten, but every step forward now echoes with your reflection. And one day, he'll face himself fully, because of what you dared to show him, without saying a word. There's a shift happening, not loud, not sudden, but undeniable. The angels whisper, he's starting to see the world in colors he once swore he didn't believe in. And it began the moment he met you. You didn't teach him love. You reminded him of how it felt before the heartbreak, before the armor, before the pretending. It started in the quietest ways. A hesitation in his breath when you spoke the truth. A softness in his eyes when you weren't looking. The ache of remembering what it means to want something more than safety. He tried to dismiss it. Tried to say it was just about timing. Or confusion. But the angels are clear. His soul is waking up. And your love was the alarm clock. Now, every little thing stirs him. A song. A scent. A memory. It all points back to you. This isn't obsession. It's recognition. Of a bond that didn't start here. Of a feeling that defies explanation. The angels are guiding him through this dawn. And dawns are quiet, but they change everything. His spirit is beginning to rise. To feel again. To hope again. And maybe, to love without fear. For the light makes everything visible. This is why it is said, awake, O sleeper, rise up from the dead, and Christ will give you light. Ephesians 5 verse 14. You felt it, the pulling close, the sudden retreat. The sweetness of connection, followed by the chill of silence. The angels say, this is not a game. This is a war between his soul and his scars. He comes close when his spirit remembers. Pulls back when his pain resists. There's no manual for loving someone in the middle of awakening. No guide for how to hold a heart that keeps running from its own beat. But you've done it. Not perfectly, but faithfully. He returns not because he's uncertain, but because your presence is the only place that ever felt like truth. He retreats not because he's cold, but because truth terrifies someone who has lived in numbness. This is the cycle, not to torment you, but to teach him. Every goodbye chips away at his illusions. Every silence stirs something he tried to bury. Every return is one step closer to surrender. You didn't cause the cycle, but you hold the key to its ending, not by chasing, but by remaining rooted. The angels remind you, you are not the storm. You are the anchor. And anchors don't chase drifting ships. They wait, grounded in understanding. Understanding that what is true will always come back around. Until it's ready to settle in. This rhythm may hurt, but it's healing him. And deep down, it's healing you too. You didn't speak in grand declarations. You didn't plead to be acknowledged. You just loved. Quietly, completely, without conditions. And that, dear soul, was the remedy. The angels say, what you gave him was not romance. It was resurrection. In your presence, he began to breathe differently. Slower. Deeper. Like someone who forgot how to feel safe. until your light reminded him of peace. You were not a storm. You were the calm that follows it. And still, he didn't know what to do with peace. He only knew how to survive the chaos. So he questioned the calm, resisted the healing, mistook your gentleness for illusion, because the pain he knew felt more familiar than the love he never learned to trust. But love does not need permission to heal. It moves through barriers. It lingers in absence. It whispers in moments he thinks you've forgotten about him. The love you offered is still making its way through him, unraveling his grief, soothing his shame, rewriting the story he told himself about his worth. You didn't fix him. You reminded him he was never broken, just buried. And now, piece by piece, the man you saw beneath the rubble is starting to emerge. Because love never fails. It just works in silence, where the deepest wounds hide. There is a thread, thin as breath, strong as eternity, that ties you to him. Not made of promises. Made of purpose. The angels whisper, what's happening now isn't a pause. It's precision. Heaven does not rush what it is still aligning. You've asked why the delay. Why the closeness followed by nothing. Why the signs without the answers? But not all movement looks like progress. Some shifts happen in the unseen, in his heart, in your spirit, in the space between letting go and trusting more. You are being led, not forgotten, not dismissed, led. And he is too. Even in his silence, he is not walking alone. Even in his confusion, the divine walks beside him. The angels are rearranging more than you can imagine. Not just feelings, but futures. So that when your paths cross again, they do so as healed souls, not unfinished wounds. You don't need to understand the map when you're held by the hand of the cartographer. Just breathe. Just trust. Just know that delay is not denial. It's design. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6. He wears confidence like armor. But underneath is a boy who was never told he was enough. The angels say, he wants to love you, but love requires a surrender he was never taught. You see glimpses. The softness in his gaze. The hesitation in his voice. The moments where his silence says more than words ever could. He's not heartless. He's haunted. By all the times he gave and lost. By all the stories that taught him love meant pain. So now when something real appears, he flinches. Even if it's exactly what he prayed for. You didn't break him. You triggered his healing. And healing always starts with shaking. He longs to open up. To be held not just in body, but in truth. But that kind of nakedness terrifies a man who is told emotions were weakness. The angels are holding him in this process, showing him that vulnerability is not destruction, but divine initiation. You may not see it yet, but he's beginning to soften. Not because you pushed, but because your presence made safety possible. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Deuteronomy 31 verse 6.